So it's just finding that particular perfect policy for that client. Are they going to pay a higher premium than a 2025 with a brand new roof that's sitting in a subdivision? Absolutely they are. There's more risk there.
Do you remember, or can you recall certain situations when historic properties really changed the game, especially maybe in the apartment world?
Historic properties, you're in the insurance world. If I have 22 companies that I deal with, okay, well, historic, only one company will do a historic home. And there's several reasons for it. One, you can't put it back just any old way that you want to put it back.
Mm-hmm.
You've got law, ordinance, codes, so which then costs the insurance company more money because they have to put it back to that code or the way it looked or whatever, and to preserve that property. So I think in the question you're asking, it's finding that company or that niche company that says, oh, we love historic properties. You know why? Because we look at the numbers and they've made us money for years and years and years, where another company may say, no, they cost us money. We don't want any historic houses.
Is it similar with banks have buckets where they're like, we'll lend on commercial multifamily, we'll lend on single family, we'll lend on businesses, and then when one bucket gets full, there's too much risk in that bucket and they kind of slow down their lending. Do insurance companies operate the same, where they might have a lot of one type and they need to de-risk that and diversify a little bit?
Yeah, and so insurance companies are probably, and there's two that are amazing with numbers and risk, and they could tell you what, age of the house, zip code, who has the most claims, what that claim is, whether it's fire, this, that, and the other. And they look at that bucket and say, do we want any more risk on this? And they can see the red line of, oh, we're getting a ton of claims on these specific houses. So we're going to put a stop sign to say, we don't want any more of that. We want the rest of this stuff, but we just don't want any more of that. And then another company may say, oh, we love this stuff. Give it to us,
So we talked about historic, like the historic tax credits, et cetera, where there's all kinds of codes and regulations you got to follow. What about the age of the property? Like it's built, there's one property we managed that I think it was built in 1886 or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But it was out in a really old stretch of Church Hill. How does insurance view age of the property?
Yeah, that you're going to pay a higher premium for an older house. It's just that simple. There are some companies that say we don't want anything over 100 years old. And you say, well, all of Richmond, all of Richmond is well, there's some companies that love all of Richmond. And the reason for some of that is you got galvanized pipes, which typically insurance companies hate. So there's just, more risk involved with an older house than a newer house. Not always. Some of these new houses that get put up, track houses, have issues right away. But to answer your question, the difference in premium is what you're going to see. I just had a client who was buying an 1880 house with a flat roof. Well, that's all of Richmond, right? So it knocked out about probably 18 of my companies because they won't do over 100 years or 125 years. And then there's companies that are like, we don't like flat roofs. We have a lot of claims for flat roofs. So it's just finding that particular perfect policy for that client. Are they going to pay a higher premium than a 2025 with a brand new roof that's sitting in a subdivision? Absolutely they are. There's more risk there.